Hello YouTube, LD50 here, and today we're going to have a look at Facepuncher Melee Moze. Not the traditional way to play Moze, but we will have a look at this particular setup. Is working very well, and we'll also touch on the Terra version of this build as well. So we'll go through the equipment first, go through the skills, do a little bit of combat, and then swap over to the Terra gear and do a little bit of combat with the Terra gear on as well. So let's jump straight in. This build is using a Facepuncher, and the best anointment I have found is the consecutive hits anointment for a non-Terra build. I prefer to have a ×7 version with 8 in the mag. That will give you 8 shots before you have to reload. You can use the ×14, but you will get less shots. However, that might suit your playstyle because it will proc certain skills. We'll get to those skills when we do the tree, but we're going to go through the rest of the equipment now. The Trick Unforgiven with the 432% critical hit damage for crit swapping. If crit swapping is not your thing, then quite honestly this build will perform just as well without it, but it is handy for doing trick shots or farming bosses quickly. Generally in combat it's not needed. We'll concentrate mostly on just using the Facepuncher with a consecutive hits anointment. We're going to use a faulty star for the Nova damage around the attacking enemy. This one has got action skill end bonus radiation damage, which will proc if we get into Iron Bear and then get out again. It's not really an Iron Bear build, so we're not going to spend much time actually in Iron Bear. We do have Auto Bear, and we'll talk about that when we go through the skills as well. Grenade I'm using is a recurring hex with cryo and the on grenade thrown anointment. I'm using a knife drain White Elephant. I feel that with Moze the knife drain is the best prefix for this White Elephant, and you will need the White Elephant to make this build work effectively. If you can look for something with melee damage, area of effect damage on it, that would be good. The radiation damage on this one is not really applicable, apart from to the sticky bombs that do have random elemental damage. Some of that will be radiation. And then finally we want a Minesweeper com. We want to get as many points in torque promotion as we can, because that will increase the splash damage of the sticky bombs. So essentially we're using the Facepuncher to apply sticky bombs, and then if we can get those sticky bombs to crit, then we have the chance to proc the Minesweeper com, which will also drop micro grenades, which will then also crit, which will then also drop micro grenades, etc, etc. So that's the build with the gear that we need. Very minimum setup. If you don't want to use a 40 star or you don't have the DLC, then you can change to a stopgap. These ones are Terra based, but you could find a non-Terra based with an anointment that suits you. Let's have a quick look at the skills. We want to get all the way down to the bottom of the blue tree Demolition Woman, because we want to get short fuse. This will increase our damage by adding a chance for a secondary explosion, which will be boosted by splash damage and other skills that Moze has. So from the top, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take the com off so that we can see the tree naked, and then we can discuss all the skills. So we're going to put 5 out of 5 in fire and a skag den for bonus incendiary damage. It's obviously only effective against flesh enemies, but it is extra damage. 3 out of 3 into dead lines. This will help us if we are using Iron Bear, and there are situations where you may want to actually have some fun in Iron Bear. Iron Bear with this build is still very viable. We have 3 out of 3 into means of destruction. We're going to be doing a lot of splash damage, so this will increase our chances to get grenades and to have ammo added to our weapons magazine. 5 out of 5 in torque cross promotion. Very important to max out this skill here. All splash damage dealt by Moze has a chance to double in size, and splash damage is increased by 30%. That's a large increase. We're going to put 5 out of 5 into Stainless Steel Bear because we will occasionally use Iron Bear either in it ourselves or as Auto Bear, and just having a little bit more damage out of it and a little bit more armor for while we're in it is useful. We will take Auto Bear so that at least when we're out of Iron Bear it can be doing some damage for us, and we'll take 3 out of 3 into Pull the Holy Pin. Moze's grenades have a chance to score a critical hit, dealing greatly increased damage. We're not going to take any points into Vampire because we have a Knife Drain White Elephant. We'll take a single point into To the Last to give us the opportunity to throw grenades in Fight for Your Life. And finally we'll get all the way down to Short Fuse for this extra secondary explosion chance damage. Down the green tree. So our action skill weapons will be the miniguns, and I like to use the exploding bullets, giving us splash damage. This is a sort of splash damage based build using the Facepuncher to deliver that splash via the White Elephant. So that's why I take that particular augment for the minigun. 5 out of 5 into Cloud of Lead to give us some extra incendiary damage, and every 4th shot doesn't consume ammo, helps us to fire for longer. 3 out of 3 into Shake the Embers, increasing the incendiary damage again, and a single point into Redistribution. We will be aiming for crit spots with the Facepuncher. Now whilst the Facepuncher doesn't crit itself, the White Elephant sticky bombs will. 5 out of 5 into Scrappy for some extra weapon damage, weapon swap speed and mode switch speed. We're not really using the mode switch speed as such, but the weapon swap speed, if we do use the crit swap method, is useful. 5 out of 5 into Scorching RPMs for extra critical hit damage, which will apply to the sticky bombs from the White Elephant, and extra fire rate and extra Iron Bear damage for when we're in it or when it's deployed as Auto Bear. 1 out of 1 into Specialist Bear, that will double the damage on our weapons, and we have the same weapons on each side of Iron Bear. And then finally 3 out of 3 into Click Click to increase our gun damage as our magazine empties. We're not really wanting to go all the way down to Forge. The ammo regeneration at 5% of an 8 size magazine is not worth taking. And also we will be getting this quite often because with the small magazine we will get down to the minimum amount of ammo in the magazine quite quickly. Now obviously if you use a ×14 Facepuncher you'll be proccing this skill more often. So it depends on your playstyle. What I don't find is that Moze has very much in the way of skills to boost her reload speed, and I find that the ×14 Facepuncher is a little bit on the slow to reload without anything to majorly buff it. So that's why I prefer the ×7. So I'm getting this bonus, sorry, the ×7 with 8 in the magazine. So I'm getting this full 60% bonus every 8 shots. You would get it every 3 shots on a ×14 Facepuncher, obviously using more ammunition as well. Anyway, let's move on finally to the red tree. I've taken a single point into Security Bear to give a little bit extra Iron Bear health, as shields. Makes it a little bit more tanky if it's being deployed as auto bear or if you are in it. But remember, this isn't particularly an Iron Bear build. 5 out of 5 into armoured infantry, just to increase the efficiency and damage reduction that you get. Gun damage and damage reduction that you get with full shields. Single point into Vladov Ingenuity. We could put some more points here, but we would probably end up sacrificing them from somewhere, and I like to have a bit more gun damage. I'm finding that the shield is coming back perfectly fast enough. We'll discuss that when we discuss the Guardian perks as well. So 5 out of 5 into Drowning and Brass for the extra gun damage and fire rate, and also 1 into Experimental Munitions for extra bonus incendiary damage. So that is the basic build. I'll leave a link to the BL3 skill calculator in the description of the video. You can check that out. And then we'll have a quick talk about our Guardian rank. We will be wanting to take topped off. Action skill cooldown rate increases while shields are full. If we want to use auto bear more often, that will help. And obviously shield reboot and emergency response both help with getting our shields back nice and quickly. And also we have a few perks in the survivor tree. You do really want to get all the way down to Groundbreaker if you have sufficient points. This will increase the damage by a lot. Finally, Mayhem modifiers. For Mayhem 10, my ideal combination would have been Speed Demon, Healy Avenger, Drone Ranger and Dazed and Infused. However, I sort of got tired of re-rolling. If in the future Gearbox gives us the option to individually choose these modifiers, then I'll be back in a flash to change that to Speed Demon. I do like Healy Avenger and Drone Ranger for the second wind opportunities. They don't seem to have a great bearing upon my ability to kill the enemies. I'm not finding that they're being healed up too much by both of these Mayhem modifiers, so that's why I choose them. And Dazed and Infuse is a good, very hard modifier to have for a melee build. Don't forget the melee damage itself through the Facepuncher is considered to be kinetic. The sticky bombs themselves are elemental, but they are random anyway, and random seems to cancel itself out quite well. We shall take a trip over to Athenas, go and do some not too challenging content. Here we are at Athenas. We're going to run through the map, first few areas with this build, and then we'll touch on the Terror build. One thing to note is try to avoid the barrels if you can. They will get the splash damage bonuses and they can be lethal. And we want to try to use our grenade often to proc the consecutive hits on ointment, and also to take advantage of the on grenade throw anointment on the grenade itself. So let's move forward.
That's it.
When we're able to hit a crit, we will have a good chance of proccing Minesweeper. Try and keep our distance from anything that will blow up in our face. Let's crit swap. First area taken care of. We'll move on to the second area. We might deploy Iron Bear to be a bit of a sentry perhaps. We'll take care of him on the gantry first, and then move forward over to here. Put Iron Bear out again. We'll clear this third area, and then before we take on the next area, we'll have a talk about the Terra build and have a look at the Terra items you'll need to make that build work. Auto Bear can provide a little bit of support for us. As you can see, no problem clearing the content on this map with this build. It has to be said that this isn't the most challenging map, but you can clear all the content in the game with this build. Some of it takes a little bit longer than others. We're going to stock up on ammo now. We're going to have a quick talk about the Terra gear needed for the Terra build, and we'll use that build for the second half of this map. So for the Terra build, you'll need a method of applying Terra, and I've been having a lot of success with a stopgap. You can either use the action skill end, apply Terra to yourself every 3 seconds for the next 18 seconds, which will require you to get into Iron Bear and out of Iron Bear, or you can use the melee attacks, have 25% chance to apply Terra to yourself, which is the one I prefer. Now we can stick with the on grenade thrown recurring hex, or we can change over to the gas call. The gas call is enhanced by being terrified. We're applying the terror with our melee attacks from our Facepuncher here, and also we want to have a Facepuncher that's anointed with a terror damage anointment. So that's either the terror damage or the terror crit damage. What that will do is it will mean that while you are terrified or under the influence of terror, you won't have the negative effects of the high recoil. So it will make the weapons appear more normal. The gas call is affected by terror. It is also a very, very efficient splash weapon. Wants to be used with some caution. There's some barrels in this area we need to be careful of. As you can see, the splash radius on that grenade is large.
Get good or get dead, scrub.
And would have caused us some problems if we'd been a bit close. So we've taken care of this area with the Terror build. We'll go on and take on Captain Traunt, finish off the map, and maybe have a quick recap. Actually, no, I think what we'll do is we'll go off and do Grave Ward with the regular build, I think. Might give ourselves some auto bear support here. And there we go. Captain Traunt down. So I think what we'll do is we'll put our regular build back on and we'll go and see how we do against Grave Ward. See you over there. Right, here we are over at Grave Ward. We have our regular build back on. We're not going to use Iron Bear for this kill at all. We're just going to go in and shoot him and see what happens. And there we go. Goes down pretty easily. The Minesweeper com will increase the damage by a lot, especially if you can hit those crit areas. Obviously, as we've talked about, the Facepuncher itself doesn't do crit damage, but the sticky bombs from the White Elephant do, and they will proc the Minesweeper com. All in all, a very solid build. We'll have one quick recap of the regular gear, the terror gear, and the skill tree. So the regular gear that we're using for our regular build is consecutive hits anointed Facepuncher. If we needed it, we would use the Trick Unforgiven for some crit swapping. We are using the 40 star, however you could use a different shield, stopgap, recharger, a transformer, anything that suits your playstyle. We like to have recurring hexa with cryo because cryo will increase melee damage. Frozen enemies take increased melee damage, and the on grenade throw anointment, it seems to work the best for Moze. It will increase our damage. We're using a knife drain White Elephant to keep us alive and to provide the White Elephant sticky bombs, and we're using a Minesweeper com. This one actually has Hyperion weapon critical damage that will be applied to the sticky bombs from the White Elephant, and it also has a fair amount of points into tall cross promotion. I also found this one which is melee damage. That also works, not quite as well. It's got less points in tall cross promotion. The more you can get into that, the stronger the build will be. This is our skill tree. Our Guardian rank. And our Mayhem modifiers. So, that's the Melee Facepuncher build for Moze. I've been LD50. You've been lovely. See you in the next one.